Quick note here. This is a pretty sort of inconsistent and sort of incoherent review. It's sort of just me rambling on about stuff. And if you're not going to really like that, if you wanted a more focused, more thought out review, more prepared, um, you should probably go somewhere else because this is just kind of me talking and rambling on about Metropolis. And I'm not really, I didn't plan this at all. I just sort of, I just sat down for 20 minutes and talked about my thoughts on the movie. So, yeah, if that's not what you're looking for, then I suggest going elsewhere. So, hello. So, I'm gonna re-review Metropolis, and if you don't know why I say re-review, that's because I already had a review, but I didn't really like the way it turned out. I felt like I was sort of I didn't feel like I was too focused. I didn't feel like it was well. Not that this is going to be any better based on what I'm planning, um, but I felt like it was too just I felt like I was reading from a script instead of just actually like saying what I thought. So I'm going to re-review it, and I'm going to do it hopefully better. No real guarantees on that, but I'm going to try. So I guess let's start with the basics. What is Metropolis? Metropolis is a Japanese animated movie uh, released in 2001, written and I think directed by Osamu Tezuka. You may know of him if you're at all into Japanese animation, not anime, animation. Slight difference there. Animation being like films and anime being like series and manga, etc. Um, yeah, so directed and written by Osamu Tezuka. If I'm wrong about that, leave a comment, or if don't, doesn't matter. Okay, what is Metropolis about? Metropolis is about um, a city, as the name suggests, um, named Metropolis, sort of aptly named. And in Metropolis, there is a uh, there is a mix of humans and robots. And yet, this movie is sort of set in the distant future, sort of past. This is being recorded in 2014, and um, I think it's supposed to be set in like it looks kind of like maybe I don't know 2020 or 2015. I'm not sure. Um, However, uh, in this time period, there were a mix of humans and robots in the city. So, why is that significant? Well, um, the robots are somewhat kind of segregated against, um, but it's kind of subtle that um, the reason they're segregated against is because um, the city and the city's inhabitants, some of them, not everyone thinks this, thinks that the robots are taking too many jobs. They're becoming um, becoming human replacements. They're taking away jobs. There are people who previously were working and their families are suffering now because robots have replaced their jobs because they can do it more efficiently. So it's kind of that kind of thing, and that at first that sounds a little bit cliche, and it sounds a little bit like it'd be kind of easy to come up with, but um, some of the things the movie does really do redeem it and really make it worth it. So, uh, moving on, when a boy and his uncle from, I think, China. I'm not sure where they come from, but they're not from Japan, where the movie is set. That's where Metropolis is, Japan. Um, so, Kenichi and his uncle, I don't remember his uncle's name. Um, Maybe I can think of it here. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but all you need to know right now is that Kenichi is the nephew, and his uncle are coming to Japan, Metropolis, to investigate a murder. Uh, so, well, I'm not really sure why he brought Kenichi along, but I guess because we can chalk that one up to destiny, right? Anyhow, they go to Metropolis, and when they get there, their original intent is to look for a murderer, a specifically an organ smuggler. Uh, Obviously, that would be illegal, so he's there to investigate and arrest him. And some of the things that happen in the movie, that sort of the plot and give it an actual twist, is really, honestly, some of the best writing that I've seen in a lot of movies. I wouldn't say it's like the very very best story, but this movie makes it into my favorites list because for a couple of the reasons. One being um, just ridiculously beautiful animation. Everything kind of looks like it's drawn in sort of like an almost 19. If you've ever seen the movie Astro Boy, it looks kind of like a 2D version of that because it's not 3D rendered. This is a normal. I think it's computer drawn. Like it's not hand drawn. They don't go on a hand tablet and draw it and then put it onto a computer. It's drawn like in a photo editing software, and then they animate it. So that's kind of how that works. I don't really know the terms. I don't keep up with that. Anyhow, the reason this is so nice is because it's sort of like it reminds me of Astro Boy because I don't know, just the kind of the way that everything looks. Just yes, it reminds me of the way Astro Boy looks because of the way it looks. That's right. Yeah. Uh, it reminds me of Astro Boy because everything just kind of looks like it's drawn in almost a 1920s kind of theme, and I don't know why I say 1920s. I don't even know if that's the right era, but everything is kind of drawn that way. It's kind of drawn. Well, if you can see actually the screenshot. Maybe I'll put up a screen cap right here, and I'll try to let you get a good idea of what the animation is like. I'll put some more screens so that you can actually see what I'm talking about. But the animation is really nice. The animation is really fluid. All the characters look absolutely awesome. Okay, so I want to move on with the plot now. And I'm not going to spoil too much. Everything you've heard, not major spoilers. You're not really going to know what's going on if you watch this and then go watch the movie. I'll be careful to avoid spoilers. So, the plot thickens when actually, in the city, there is a ruler. Not really a ruler like a king or something, but sort of a self-employed or a self-appointed leader of the city. Not really a dictator because he kind of doesn't dictate anything. He doesn't really control everyone. Not everyone's under his control. Not everyone has to listen to him, or at least that's my understanding of it. The way it kind of works is that this leader, and his name is Duke Red, by the way, I should mention that. Duke Red is the supposed, I don't want to say president of Metropolis, but that's kind of what he is. And what he's doing is that there's a scientist in the city, and he has commissioned this scientist, Duke Red. He's commissioned him to build a robot in the likeness of his late daughter, late meaning dead, if you didn't know. And yeah, he's commissioned. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. Sorry about all the stuttering, but he's commissioned the scientist. I don't remember the scientist's name either. I don't think he has a name. Maybe he does. I haven't seen the movie in a little while. He's commissioned the scientist to build a robot in the likeness of his daughter, and he wants his daughter, the new robot version of his daughter, to become the new ruler of Metropolis. He wants her to take his place when he dies, and that way it's like he lives on, and because sort of an artificial bloodline kind of thing. So that's really interesting. But what's really cool about it is that the movie uses his daughter, and what was her name? I know her name. It's right. I've got it right here on the tip of my tongue. I need to remember it. What was it? I know this. Oh, I know I do. Maybe I don't. Tima, that's what it was. Tima, Tima. So, Tima. Tima is the robot daughter's name. Duke Red's late robot, late now being built as a robot daughter. So, they use Tima as a really, really interesting character. And I think this is one of the biggest things about Metropolis that makes me like it, is that just the way they use Tima as really a lot more than just like a damsel in distress and like she doesn't really know, like the way you might expect this movie to go is like, and this is kind of how it does go, but they do put good twists on it. The way you might expect this to go is that Tima, she gets into she ends up meeting Kenichi, and yeah, she does. That is maybe a minor spoiler, but it happens so early in the movie that you're really not going to care. Um, so when Tima meets Kenichi, she ends up, uh, um, sort of gaining almost free will, except think of her as like sort of a blank slate of a person. Um, you know, she isn't at the beginning of the movie. She isn't aware that she is a robot. She doesn't know. She thinks she's human. And Kenichi, I don't think he knows either. I won't tell you how they meet because that's I don't want to say too many things, even if they're not major spoilers, because there has to be some surprise. Um, when they meet, sorry if you can hear my chair squeaking. I'm just moving. Uh, when they meet, Kenichi and Tima, I don't want to say like they form a relationship together, but they don't, because really they don't. Really, it doesn't turn into anything. It's just kind of like, it's more of like a friendship than anything. And how they use Tima so interestingly is that as Tima's character develops, she she turns into sort of like this sort of point of questioning that you can have, where you ask yourself like, wow, should we actually be thinking of this robot as a human? Like that's what it made me think of. Like, again, that's the beauty of this movie. Like, and a lot of others. Um, you can interpret it any way you want. There's so many different ways you can possibly interpret this movie. Um, it makes me think like, should we actually be thinking of this robot as a human, or you know, is that actually true? Is that is she human? Is you know, should we question whether or not she has free will or she has the ability to have emotions, or whether or not she should be able to love somebody? And I paused there because I don't know if I want to say love, because in the movie it doesn't show Tima actually like showing sort of like romantic love for Kenichi. Maybe that's what it implies at some points, but I don't think that's actually what they're going for. And the movie is really touching in that way, because it makes you like the character in kind of a different way than other movies for me. Like in other movies, you like the characters because they do something really great. They do something that's revolutionary. They change something. They give you a message that one of the messages that a lot of movies can give, and it's kind of it's kind of easy to deliver a message about a character that just does something beautiful, or does something revolutionary, or does something extraordinary. It's easy to break that. I feel. I've written like sort of an amateur novel, and I've done that. Um, and the way this movie does it is really different. Well, maybe not really different, but different enough to where I would go so far as to say it's remarkable. Um, I don't want to ramble on too much longer here, because we are getting up to almost 15 minutes. We're at 13 right now, I think. But I'm trying to think of what else I can say about this movie. Okay, I'm gonna cut the voice right here for just a minute, and I'm gonna get my thoughts together just a little bit, and I'll come right back. So, right. So I'm gonna continue. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about was the music in the movie, the soundtrack. Um, I'm just gonna go ahead and come out and say it. This movie, pretty much my favorite soundtrack in any movie ever. Not because I like the music that it uses. It does use pretty famous songs, such as I'm trying to think of the name of this one. "I Can't Stop Loving You" by Ray Charles. I don't usually listen to that kind of music actually. If you know me, even in the least, you know that I like um, metalcore such as The Sorrow, A Day to Remember, etc. Those kind of bands. Um, this movie uses music just so well. I would say that if I was going to give this movie like a rating on like five, like you know 1 to 10, um, this movie, just the soundtrack alone would probably give it a full star rating. You know, in addition to whatever it would get, without. The music is really amazing. Some of the very best. It has a really amazing soundtrack. It's great. I'm not gonna repeat myself that much because I do that too much. Um, Trying to think of anything else I could say about the soundtrack before I move on. Oh, the voice acting. Well, yeah, I can say something about that. The voice acting is actually really really good. This movie was dubbed from Japanese to English. It wasn't originally recorded in English. It wasn't originally planned to be recorded in English, and I would be very sad if it wasn't recorded in English. Not that I would know. I mean, actually, I probably still would know because it was my friend who showed me this movie, not me. I didn't find it myself. Um, the voice acting is really good, though. The voice acting, absolutely some of the best. Well, okay, maybe it's not some of the best, like compared to other movies, but it's the kind it's on the level where, you know, if you're just watching the movie normally and you're not like scrutinizing it, you're not going to notice any problems with the voice acting. You're gonna notice that the voice acting is really good. Um, um, really exceptional performances though from Kenichi and Tima, the two main characters. I mean, Kenichi, he's voice acted by I don't know who he's voice acted by in English, um, but he's a very young character. He's about in the movie. He's about mm, I want to say maybe like 14 or 15, something like that. So he's younger than I am. I'm 19, and so his voice is kind of high. He's sort of a younger kid, and he does an absolutely exceptional job. Absolutely, just more than I would ever expect to hear from somebody who's his age. But I guess uh, yeah, I guess that shuts me up, right? Anyhow, Tima, I don't know who she's voice acted by either. You can tell that I didn't plan this in the slightest because I have no information. I would have written this stuff down if I knew, or if I knew I wanted to say anything about it. But whatever. I'm amateur here. That's fine. So, Tima, her voice acting is also really great. Tima, I think and this is just a blind stab in the dark. Uh, she seems to be about 16, maybe 17. I don't know. Maybe she's Kenichi's age. I don't know exactly. She seems a little bit taller than him. I don't know if that's any indication. But well, I guess she can't. She doesn't really have much of an age per se because she is a robot. But well, I don't know. Yeah, what I said already sounds kind of right. So if she did have a birthday, well, she does, I guess. Whenever she was manufactured, whatever day she was. I guess that brings up another point. When would her birthday be? Would it be when she began being manufactured, or would it be when she was completed? Well, actually, in the movie, she's never actually fully completed. That's actually a really interesting topic now that I think about it. Anyway, more things to question there. Um, to summarize that last like 3 or 4 minutes, voice acting top notch, absolutely outstanding, exceptional performances. Uh, Moving on. So, some of the bad things about the movie, some of the things I didn't like so much. Um, Honestly, there's not a lot to talk about here. The only thing that I can think of that I wouldn't like too much, or that I didn't like too much, or that I might think that somebody who's watching it might not like, is it can be a little bit confusing at some points, specifically in the beginning of the movie. Um, for the first on my first time through watching it, um, for the first about for the first like 3/4 of the movie, um, I was kind of I was a little bit, I had to keep asking the movie, or I had to keep asking who I was watching the movie with, like, what's going on here? Is this what's happening? And I didn't really understand too much, so I guess that could be a slight problem, but it's really not that significant. Because like, if you're like me at all, and you like movie and you enjoy movies enough to want to rewatch the ones that are good, I do that pretty commonly. I rewatched I rewatch movies. There are movies that I've watched 8 or 9 times. Um, then if you watch it again, you're pretty much going to understand it the second time through, and it's really not that significant. And that's actually really all there is wrong with the movie that I can think of. I'm sure that if you watch it, you'll come up with something else, but I'm not a huge critic. I don't really worry about it too much. I'm not, I think the movie's exceptionally good as is, and it doesn't really need that much criticism. It's good enough to avoid it. It's good enough to it's good enough to have a good rating from me. Not that I'm going to be rating this. I'm just talking about it, just discussing it. Yeah. So, let me think. Is there anything else that I wanted to cover before I end this off? Before I summarize and then turn off this recording, because it is getting up to. We are at 21 minutes, and I don't want to hold you here any longer unless you've already left, which is fine. So I guess I'll just summarize in that case. So the plot, probably one of my favorites, because of the character development in it, the way the characters develop, the way the characters end up being so complex and being so just unique and really great. They really do end up making you question things. They really end up being thought provoking. That's really what I get out of a movie. More at the end of the day, if I can get if it provokes thought and makes me want to talk about it and discuss it like this, I feel like I've gotten something good out of a movie, and that it wasn't a waste to watch it. And the bad, it's kind of confusing for newcomers. Nothing really too significant there. Again, just sort of going over everything that I can think of. Hoping to. No, I actually think that's about it. I think we're done. I think that's all I wanted to say. So I guess if you made it this far, then thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for hearing my review. And yeah, feel free to, if you're on Facebook, which you're only going to be only my friends list is going to be on Facebook. Feel free to discuss it in the comments or not. Or if you're on YouTube, do the same. Discuss it in the comments, talk about it. And again, if you did like this review enough, leave a like on the video. It could help. I do want to make more of these in the future, and if they're going to get any views at all, then liking is probably going to be one of the best ways to do that. So if you did enjoy it, that'd be nice. If not, then dislike, because that's only fair. Your opinion. Anyhow, I'm rambling. See you guys later.